what success is like an iceberg, and like the largest mass of the iceberg is actually below the water. So we only see everything above the surface.
Hi, I'm Natasha Gillis, and here's a little secret. One of my favorite things to do is drive around town and proudly point out each dental practice my firm has helped grow. Because behind every practice is a real story of grit, vision, and entrepreneurship. On this podcast, you'll hear those real stories straight from the dentists who dared to build something of their own. So tune in, get inspired, and remember, your practice is my passion. Hi, Dr. Minh.
Hey, what's up?
We're here with Dr. Minh with Excelsior. How did you come up with that name, Excelsior Orthodontics?
You actually pronounced it correctly.
Am I pronouncing it?
That was actually pretty good.
I did?
Yes.
Okay.
You actually said it correctly.
Excelsior.
Excelsior.
Excited. Yes. Yeah. Tell me, it's a very cool name.
Thank you. The first time I actually heard that word was in Silver Linings Playbook with Bradley Cooper.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And it wasn't until years later where Stan Lee from Marvel Comics, that's his like signature sign-off at the end of conferences. And then when I decided on a startup, I'm coming up with brand names, and then decided on, I spent like 5-6 hours Googling a bunch of stuff and what sounds cool. And I wanted something like Excelsior, only to conclude, I'm like, why don't I just name it Excelsior? And then, it has a nice meaning to it, like constantly getting better, constantly improving, and doing the best you can all the time. So it was weird, hard to spell, hard to say, yes. But easy to remember.
Easy to remember.
Yeah,
and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's fun to say it.
Yeah.
As opposed to Dr. Minh's orthodontics.
Right,
like what you hear usually.
Right.
But that's also because you're a comics fan.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when we walk into your office, we see that beautiful wall of Fun Pops. Is that what you call it?
Funko Pops.
Funko Pops.
Yeah.
That is very cool.
Yeah. Personal collection.
So is it DC? What is it? DC and Marvel, right?
Yeah.
And it's both. Educate me on that.
I have all sorts of nostalgic Funko Pops from different movies, sports. I got to be better about rotating it. But Excelsior is Marvel based. But I still have right now I have a bunch of Batman ones in there, which is DC.
I remember the Batman ones, and I like those.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
And then you have your shoe collection that you're always posting about too, and you always wear different shoes every day.
I try to.
What are you wearing today?
I have LeBron 8s, the Heat colorway. So it's like Miami Heat.
That's awesome.
Colorway. So they were really, really hot in 2011. And I didn't know what the big deal was then. So when he retroed them in 2019 or 2020, I think. And I jumped on the chance. I started being an adult and working. So I'm like, okay, I don't have to bother mom and dad to get me these shoes. I'll just get them myself.
We don't need that Christmas list.
No. There's no more Christmas list. Yeah.
That's awesome. So tell me a little bit about your startup journey. I mean, your office is beautiful. You're in a really unique area.
Yeah.
In kind of what I call farm town, though it's now rapidly changing.
Yeah.
Tell us about your journey. What drove you to opening your own office?
I'll say, I think how most doctors end up opening up a brand new startup, it's usually because the office that they're looking for is not available to buy. So their vision is one thing that's so specific, and you're looking around, and there could be opportunities to help transition a retiring doctor, but it's for whatever reason, whether it's look, brand, feel, and maybe location in the community, it's it doesn't quite fit. And then, this is peak COVID time when the world was ending,
right? And
don't know what was going to happen. And I'm talking to my financial planner. He's just you know what, you're so specific. You really should just do a startup. And my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, actually had the total, probably more faith in even in myself. She's like, of all people, I think you can do it. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, we'll do it. And then to get to Purcellville for 20 years, I just thought it was trees and Loudoun Valley High School.
It was for a long time.
For a long time. That's all I knew it was. That's all I went out there was just for football games. Then drove through one day and I'm like, oh, wow, there's Chipotle. Yeah. There's a Chick-fil-A.
That's new.
I'm like, this was not here 20 years ago. All right. You look on Google Maps and it's oh, okay. they probably could use another, like, no, another orthodontist should do just fine over here versus a new one in Sterling is where I grew up, or in Ashburn. There's plenty of orthodontists in like Alexandria and Fairfax, basically anything closer to DC. There's plenty. But I'm like, oh, okay, this is a nice little community. A little bit of influence from my time in West Virginia, getting more exposed to quieter environments and like that lifestyle. I'm like, oh, okay, I think this is probably more suitable for us with, building a family of our own. I'm like, all right, let's make it happen out here. And definitely no regrets. I'm glad any potential acquisitions didn't work out, that the startup worked out. Yeah.
I love coming your way.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite drives. When we did our food drive, I drive down the beautiful treed roads. I mean, you don't really get that anymore. It's just a kind of a different pace.
Yes, very different pace.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it. So tell me a little bit about, this is kind of a hard question. What's your mission statement with your practice? What is it, if you could tell your patients in a few sentences, what do you strive for?
Oh, God. I had that written.
I threw a bomb at you.
It's in the manual. I tweaked it like 3 months ago. I should remember it.
You should bring it with you.
Yeah, I should just like tattoo it to my hand to remind myself or something. I think along the lines of I think doing good aesthetic work with honesty and integrity and ethics. I think there's a lot of I won't push it too much, but I think a lot of like misinformation that can be out there where I think patients and just people don't have like all the options of pros and cons of where the treatment's coming from and who's doing the treatment. Because people vary, even among orthodontists, and just slightly different styles. We're a little bit of artists, and the way we approach cases and what we like to share with the patients and what our goals are. And how much time is spent and how much detail is spent with each patient. That varies from provider to provider, and no one's doing it necessarily the right or even wrong way. There's different styles, and patients just vibe with different ways. And I just hope to kind of share my style with like the people that come to my office, and they usually get that vibe like right when they walk in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can feel that excellence, that taste of perfection when you walk in the office, aesthetically first.
Yeah.
And also through your social media. You have a lot of tutorial-driven, educational-driven content, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So are you posting on YouTube? Tell me, where can we find your information?
With any other business owner, you start to learn all the social media algorithms. So there's different rules that I follow. So a lot of the pictures do best on Facebook. Reels, short reels are meant for Instagram. Some education, but we try to make it. I try to make it more funny and entertaining on Instagram. And then the real educational, like in-depth, long-form content with clips is on YouTube. And those are just kind of the rules I follow. I think because people, when they're on different platforms, they have different goals or certain things. So I have YouTube constantly streaming in the background of my home and just listening to whatever, whether it's some podcast or a news story or something. So I'm like, okay, well, how do I bring the educational content and my knowledge to a platform, to a community that could be searching? So YouTube is probably my favorite one. It has like the least number of followers, but it's growing, and I'm trying to work on that a little bit more.
Well,
but my setup is awesome.
Yeah, I've seen your setup on camera when you do kind of a behind the scenes, but I've noticed that too with YouTube. People are more prone to watching than following. So it's really about your views and what you're adding to essentially your patient's comfort level. They get to see, oh, look at my doctor. This is all the cool stuff he does.
Yep.
What's your handle, by the way, before I forget? Or is that what we call it in YouTube?
Yeah, I think it's still called a handle.
Handle.
So luckily, with choosing a brand name, I made sure all the domains and the handles were all available. So everything is at Excelsior Orthodontics.
That's awesome.
Yeah, easy to find.
So tell me about your cases. What's one of your favorite or conversely hardest cases that is most memorable to you?
There's two. There's one right now, like an early treatment case, where it was a family of 3 kids, and then this is the one that I recently posted, where this is like what I call like, no, they'll probably watch this, but I call like the first family of Excelsior. You know, I was just so excited that my doors are open. And I'm like, this family doesn't even know who I am. I have no reputation in town. And they're like, okay, well, we'll bring our 3 kids over here. And then the one child that they thought was going to need treatment, I'm like, he's not quite ready. Probably in like, honestly, another like 6-ish months, he'll probably be ready. And the one that like the youngest one I didn't think needed treatment actually was the one that needed treatment. Like just teeth stuck out really, really far. And I was like, oh, you take the x-rays, you look at everything. Oh, it's not entirely safe. Well, here's our goals. Here's how we can fix it. And when I look at the before and after pictures and everything, and I'm like, it's a completely different profile change. It was really satisfying to see. And finally, I get to do orthodontics and document the cases in the way I want, with like high quality records, high quality photos. And it's not just before and after, but it's before progress photos during treatment when I see significant changes, and then get to the after, and you could piece the whole story together. And then just the profile alone, I was like, oh, wow, like that was worth it.
I saw the profile. That was really impressive.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
You know, you forget that often as adults, as grown-ups, when we look at these photos of, look at that person's face. They're so attractive.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes it's not the Botox or the facelift. It's the teeth positioning, the jaw positioning.
That's right.
Do you feel that you make an impact more on, and this is a loaded question, on youths or adults?
I would say...
That's a hard question.
I think I guess the larger immediate impact is actually adults. Usually adults go in with like a specific goal. They know what they're getting into. They are usually the ones like, you know, financially taking care of the treatment. I think the transformations are much more dramatic with adults. You appreciate it in teenagers and kids. They don't appreciate it until like
College.
5-6 years later, when maybe like their friends are in like braces or some sort of aligner system. And they're like, oh, wow, my teeth already look really, really good. Like their LinkedIn profile pictures from Alamon Photography Studios. They already like look good.
Yes.
Like versus adults where it's like, you see like, you know, faces and everything. And it's like, oh, you know, like the smile, like the right teeth in the right position and the nice smile would more enhance who they already are versus like changing something, you know. So the adult cases I find to be like way more like larger impactful.
That's true, because sometimes you're like, fix this. I have to be on camera in a year or 6 months or however long.
Yep.
That's awesome. So talking about your practice, you said something on social media that I told you we're going to come back to, and had to do with perseverance, essentially taking one step at a time.
Yeah.
You don't make big impacts overnight, but you have to start somewhere.
That's right.
And, you know, watching your journey, it's incredible to me, because any startup that you watch, you see this life cycle start germinating, just like when you plant a bulb in the ground. You watch this flower start sprouting. It's not overnight.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about your philosophy on that. How has that driven you to being where you are right now?
Kind of go a little bit on faith. You just see what other people are doing, mentors. You know, what success is like an iceberg, and like the largest mass of the iceberg is actually below the water. So we only see everything above the surface. So you see all the glamour and like, oh, people are able to practice where they want and how they want, and in the lifestyle that they want. Like, okay, how do we get there? And most of them were actually startups, like some of my favorite ones. And it's like, okay, well, how do I do it my way? And even though just like any normal business, whether you're a multi-billion-dollar venture capitalist, I don't know, venture versus a even little coffee shop, the rules of, I think, building your brand and a business just tend to be the same, and the struggles are kind of the same, just on different scales. So you're like sinking all your energy and resources, we'll say, like all the time, and hoping this thing grows, but then, you know, yeah, it's a lot of like blind faith and just a strong support system. I think that's huge, and not just like from like immediate family, but also from like community people and other people you meet, just like yourself, and you kind of see this thing grow. And I only deal with it in the moment, but you've seen them from like so many times from like, you know, from a far perspective. So your vision is like, oh, okay, maybe this one doctor's up to something, and maybe some doctors like, oh, okay, this is maybe a little bit different. So it's nice to have like that faith. It's like everyone that does tell me and they see me what I'm doing, whether it's social media, my website, or even like the look and feel of the office. It's like what you're doing is like the right track,
Yes.
even though we're like barely a year into it. So I'm like, where's the millions of people?
Right.
But
It takes time.
it just takes time. And then, but I know I just have to, I have a vision for the practice and it's kind of evolved.
Yes.
Slight little tweaks like the shoes, the Funko Pops, the Excelsior name, that was not like set in stone 5 years ago. That was very organic of like, oh, okay, one idea inspires another and it kind of like, builds on top of one another. And then like the whole YouTube thing and like my little YouTube workstation studio, that wasn't something I thought of 6 years ago. I never thought I'd be doing that one, but it's just kind of like evolved and I don't know, try to build it. And I think it's like, this is what new young families are looking for, a lot of transparency.
Yes.
And that's what I really wanted to open up a lot as far as like the educational content and style. And it's not just, you're never going to catch me dancing on TikTok or Instagram.
With
it's
your
just
shoes.
right with my shoes. It's like, it's just not my style. People are going to be who they are.
Right.
And I'm like, well, like, I think I'm decent at educating people in like my tone and the way I do it to make it easy to understand. Let me just like really open up the doors and I'll share with like what a whole thought process is of an orthodontist.
Yeah.
And when, that new mom comes into town and they're like looking around, you start going down the rabbit hole. And if they're anything like me, I usually read like 1,000 reviews of somebody before spending a single dollar.
That's right.
But then when I spend it, I really don't care what the price is. I'm just like, no, you're good.
Right.
Like whatever it takes, like this, I'm sold. Like whatever it takes to get it done.
Well, people forget it's not just the review, because sometimes you can have an arbitrary review. That
Correct.
happens. But it's the fact that you have come to a position where people are trusting you, they're frequenting you.
Yeah.
It's establishing a brand authority.
Right.
And I think you've done a great job with that. And, the fact that you're building a fan base based on trust,
Yeah.
which is huge. Because, as a unknowing consumer, as a mom, I go see the doc and they say, oh, well, orthodontics, first thing that they rattle off, and you're thinking, how much?
Uh-huh.
It's natural human nature to say, I'm going to be skeptical here. What are you asking me to pay?
Right.
As opposed for you, you're saying, look, we're a specialty office. We can assist you with this if you would like our help. Let me teach you when to come in, what are some things to look for. You're taking a different approach than just, oh, do you want Invisalign?
Right.
Here, let's shove it down your throat and you can just
Right.
walk away with a pretty smile.
Right.
That's really a great quality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, Excelsior, I love it. What are your next goals or thoughts? Are you thinking about a second office? Are you thinking about just planting your roots in Purcellville? What can we see from your brand?
Oh, God. When I originally built the office, it was actually going to be a one doctor, one location practice. And it was like halfway through like building it up and building it out that my now wife decided to be an orthodontist. And I'm like, all right, honey, where are you going to work? And she's like, oh, I'm going to work at your office. So come to my retirement party in 2026. I had a good run, people. No, it'll be great. I think when she would definitely be a 2-doctor, 1 location practice, but even then to maintain the quality of care and style of Excelsior that I'm trying to build, one rule I set out, I told her, I'm like, it is a 1 doctor, 1 patient rule. We will not share patients at all. We're not like, a corporate high volume practice where you have a Monday doctor, a Tuesday doctor, a Wednesday doctor, and so forth. It's like, no, it's going to be your patient from beginning to the end. And we'll still maintain that as she joins the practice. So for sure, a 2-doctor, 1 location. Who knows about a second location? There's so much work with just building 1 location. Hopefully maybe I just, excel in my work, have some nice before and after photos and nice case presentations to where word kind of gets out and then people want to travel further. Who knows what it's going to be with the second location?
Of course.
Yeah.
It's too early.
I'm just happy with one.
But you'd be surprised. Some of my docs, they accomplish that hurdle and they're looking to the next already.
Yeah.
And as you know, with business, you really need to perfect your systems and that one before you're really ready for a second.
Yeah.
So the fact that you've identified that, you know what, yeah, sure, I could open a third and a fourth and a fifth, but I want to perfect this first. I want to get this one right. And who knows, maybe this one will be sufficient. Especially for a husband and wife team, that's always one of the best type of practices you can go to because both are equally invested in the growth of that business.
Yep.
So I'm excited. I love meeting her. She's very sweet. Like as a bond, I can totally see her bonding with her patients, and she would be a great addition.
No, I think so.
So you definitely need to hire her.
Yeah.
I'm putting a buzz in there for her. She doesn't need to give you a resume, right?
I asked her for one. And I'm like, okay, let me see your work. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So if you need orthodontic work or if you need a specialist to rely on, give Dr. Min a call. He can certainly give you some advice on cases. My last question for you is study clubs. Is that something in the future that you might want to host for some of our GPs who need a little bit of extra, hey, how do I handle cases like this, or where do I refer cases like this to, or even other orthos?
We have thought about that as far as like how to network with other doctors. I mean, I'm part of like one study club right now with a lot of Western Latin doctors, and it's mostly a lot of large restorative cases, but I can appreciate their work and I can dive a little bit further deep, like advanced dentistry. And it's been a while since I've heard some of these terms like crowns and root canals and implants. Has it been like 5-6 years now? But you kind of dive into their world and like what they're trying to accomplish and like, how do we fit to help them out? I think some future projects down the line was, I was waiting for Tamana to get out, but we'll do like a dental photography session, which would be really nice. So we'll have more than one camera to kind of show it. Like even among orthodontic style photography, I'm very specific. You know, I'm training someone right now and she's really good at it. But she knows, I'm like, nope, this is what I'm looking for. And she could totally tell the difference from, not just taking it, but and having it documented well and for a clinical purpose, but case presentations, marketing purposes, and sharing it with other doctors. I think the general dentist offices that embrace the photography portion,
It's important.
when they want to present, I guess advanced dentistry cases that require like a lot of restorative work. So I think their rate of case acceptance will significantly increase because like we're doing it now, but as I grow the practice and then, maybe get that implemented and invite like all the doctors around and like, hey, this is how we take photos. I'll show them how the camera works, what's shutter, what's aperture. Like you'd be surprised, you just need to know the basics first, and then we'll go chair side. And like, here's my retractors, here's my mirrors. This is like the lighting I use. Here's my settings. And then, that'll be a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
That's one project,
You've got such
among
a
other
cool
things.
knack on technology. Kudos to you and your podcasts and your camera angles and all that good stuff. I have a lot to learn from you.
A lot of hours on YouTube.
Gee.
A lot of hours, but it's fun. You gotta embrace it, and it's a lot of fun. And when you get the final results in the end, it's definitely worth it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I'll send you back to your office so your patients don't get upset with you today.
That was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow and share this podcast with a friend in dentistry. And if you're ready to take the next step in your own entrepreneurial journey, connect with me. I'd love to make your vision a reality. Until next time, keep building, keep growing, and keep practicing your passion.